For many generations, this was the school around the corner, a place where countless children took their first tentative steps into a bigger world. One of the oldest buildings in Monkstown, the Schoolhouse was built in 1791 and remained for almost 200 years a place of traditional education and recreation. Then, in 1986, its classrooms and its playground fell silent as local education was modernised.
Well, this is unbelievably the actual case that my father carried to school here every day way back from 1949 till 66 when he was here. For a start, we have a dip pen. Of course, all the desks had inkwells, and the ink was in, and you dipped in your pen, and of course there was a tremendous emphasis on very good handwriting. We'd entered for handwriting competitions and the like. We learnt a lot of poetry and a lot of lovely poems that still rattle in my mind. This poem is The Snare by James Stephens. I hear a sudden cry of pain. There is a rabbit in a snare. Now I hear the cry again, but I cannot tell from where. You didn't have television. Like, there was no television when I was growing up. So this was a glimpse of a world out beyond us. The schoolyard had a wall through the middle of it. It had an opening that you could go through, but it was the practice that boys stayed in one side and the girls stayed in the other.
I think one of my happiest memories is when I was in the baby class, when I was in junior infants, and each day, just before the end of our day, we were allowed to take out the plasticine and play with it. And I remember on the cupboard, it had Mala, which was the Irish for plasticine. And when you would take it out, it would be in all these old rose tins, you know, these empty rose tins, and we'd all get a tin and have to go back to our place. And when you'd open it, the aroma of the plasticine, it was just beautiful. So that's a really distinct sense that I have. Whenever I get a smell of plasticine now, I kind of go back. It brings me back to then.
Well, I remember, I think second class, we used to have a singing class. And we had a teacher at the time, and this would have been in the 60s, so I remember she taught us Blowing in the Wind by Bob Dylan, which was really before her time. We learned that, and we learned Bull of Oak, and I just loved those singing classes. And we had to write each song out longhand all for homework and bring it in, the chorus and everything else. And that was a great memory for me.
When you come into such a wonderful building, come back into it, it sometimes transports you back to that time. Everybody played with everybody. There was nobody on their own. Everybody played with everybody. It's just wonderful.
I presume all of them were much more innocent times in so many ways.
Oh yes, they were. Yeah, they were great times. We, as Joyce said, played all together, and if there was any disputes or anything, they were settled very quickly. Headmaster came out. Everyone got on very well. All the classes mixed. The boys played football, of course, and then the girls all clustered around in their little groups as well. But
I felt really nurtured and really, I'd say nurtured now, but I just felt very, very comfortable. It was like being in one big family.
After several years of challenges, the schoolhouse began to be rebuilt and repurposed.
Because you're restoring, you're discovering things, sometimes problems, sometimes good stuff, but it is interesting.
Did you ever think at any point, what have I got myself into here?
A couple of points. Yes, we've had dry rot and woodworm and, those sort of issues that, you have to address, get over.
They are big issues, aren't they?
They can be costly too. So.
What's it been like to go from that point where you're simply looking at plans and everything is almost abstract to having the shape you have now, the light, the windows?
Yeah, when it starts to come to fruition, it's lovely to see the crystal windows in and the light pouring in here, and see the good design from an architectural point of view. It is, and it's rewarding. It's a very rewarding industry to be in, I think. Yeah, I mean, often people are passing by and say, "Oh, I used to go to this school," and so that's nice. And they appreciate that you're fixing it up.
Today, the Schoolhouse is once again an integral part of the community of Monkstown, a place whose history has been restored, but whose purpose is now entirely modern.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster journey, and we've had loads of problems with the building. Parts of it go back to 1791, parts of it go from the 1960s, everything in between, numerous alterations. So it's been a conservation and builder's nightmare. I mean, the church had been built in the 1780s, and then very soon the parish turned around and said we need a school in the area. So 1791, this was built, and it's one of the oldest buildings in the village. So it's a really important part of Monkstown's heritage and history. We want a building that's a sort of a multi-purpose community parish facility with a proper hall facility, proper facilities for catering, for events. Part of the plan includes incorporating even a sensory garden into the old schoolyard, again for the community to come in and use as a reflective space, a place to chat with friends, and also to provide, proper facilities for what we need in the parish and in the community. So it's many dimensions to it. We're heading towards the finishing date. Have been incredibly moving and I'd say emotional, and not just for me. I think for the whole community. It's happening. We're doing it. It's going to be completed.
That it was a nice place to be. And it's a place where you found friends. And I still am in contact with quite a few people from my primary years.
I look back on the days, just happiness.
With various worldwide events that are taking place at the moment have had a knock-on effect with the budgets for it. So it started out as, it has just increased dramatically over the last while. So it's a really great push to try and get the project finished. As a project here in the village and for the community to for the future. So yeah, financially it's very, very tight, and we would appreciate any support people might give us.
So contributions large and small?
Everything would be most welcome, and we really would appreciate that.